It is September 14th, 2021 at 7 p.m. and I'd like to call the Town of Lake Mills Town Board to order. Take a quick roll call.
Okay, everyone is here tonight. Yep.
Notice is posted at the Town Hall and on the town's website. Can we get a motion to adopt the agenda tonight?
I'll make a motion to adopt September's agenda as printed.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposing, the same sign. Motion carries. Approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. Approval of the minutes from the town board meeting, August 10th, 2021.
There's one correction. It's first sentence, it says meeting was held virtually via Zoom.
No.
It was not, so just take that out.
And that was part of my template. That was my mistake.
So I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 10th meeting. Dave wasn't here.
Yeah,
Wait a second.
yeah, this is on you guys.
Oh, yeah, I'll second. All in favor, say aye.
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 I
All
abstain.
opposing, the same aye sign. Any abstentions? Dave abstains. Motion carries 2 votes to 1 abstinence to approve the minutes. All right, let's just see here. Approval of the treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve the September's treasurer's report.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposing, the same sign. Motion carries 3 votes to 0 to approve the treasurer's report. Approval of the town board expense sheets.
Make a motion to approve September's disbursements, the disbursements of $149,625.
Expense sheets.
Oh, expense sheets. I'm sorry.
We probably should do a separate because Jim has one and then you two will have to probably, and then
Okay,
Dave's got one.
I'll make a motion to approve Dave's expense sheet of $200 for tree removal. The night of the storm, last meeting, so.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposing, the same sign. Motion carries 3 votes to 0 to approve Dave's expense sheet.
Now you got mine.
Can we get a motion to approve Jim Heinz's expense sheet?
I'll make a motion to approve Jim's expense for the town or the convention, I believe it was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'll second that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposing, the same sign. Motion carries 2 votes to 0. Approval of the general fund vouching. Can we get a motion to approve the change in the general fund vouching?
I'll make that motion on September's disbursements of $149,625.92.
I'll second the motion.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposing, the same sign. Motion carries unanimously to approve general fund vouching. Reports. Chief Miller.
Start with the boat patrol. We had 81 hours of boat patrol for the month of August. Issued 5 citations, 2 warnings, handled 1 injury accident on a boat, did 2 compliance safety inspections, and assisted 1 vehicle on the water. For the road, we had 36 hours of road patrol for the month of August, handled 5 complaints. Spent 5 hours on handling those complaints, did a total of 12 traffic stops, 2 repair notices, 4 traffic warnings, 10 citations, 7.5 hours of stationary radar, 8 residence and business checks, 14 park checks, and 1 extra patrol monitored during the month of August. Other than that, it was pretty quiet.
Thank you, Chief Miller. Plan Commission report, Jim.
Plan Commission met. We had the 1 request for variance from Jeff Seedschlag, which was approved. That was it.
Excellent, thank you. Cambridge Fire and EMS report, Dave.
Not a lot to report there. We have a meeting on Thursday, the 16th at 6:30 to needs assessment and budget. We'll be working on that. Hopefully we can finalize that. So.
Sounds good. Thank you, Dave. Cambridge Facility Committee, Jim.
We had our final meeting tonight, and we'll pass on a final recommendation to the Fire Commission for their meeting on Thursday night, the 16th.
Okay. Joint Rock Lake Committee report. Is anyone here from Joint Rock?
I actually didn't have a report, but I think that our report mostly talks about our projects, and I think you've got a memo and you're addressing that in new business, our projects for the Joint Rock Lake. And coming up on help, need some help here. I think September 23rd, there's going to be a shoreline tour that the township and the city and the Joint Rock Lake are invited to be on, and that's, I think at 4:30 at Sandy Beach.
And you didn't have your meeting, I don't think.
We didn't have our meeting this month. They tried, but we didn't have a quorum, so we're having it next week.
21st.
21st, thank you.
Road maintenance report. Crossman Road's underway, so they're starting to do some things over there, which is a good sign. So early fall, get it done before harvest. Hopefully.
Weather could go south pretty fast.
Yeah, hopefully not. Hopefully not.
The last time I was down, it looked like they were teeing the intersection is where they're kind of working.
Yeah.
It's all staked. So.
On the Rock Lake Road initiative, we did get an email from, or I had a conversation with Jim Ottinger from the state. They're, definitely going to bat for us to try to, do what they can do to push things up for that deal. It sounded fairly promising coming out of the meeting, just in the facet that, they do the 300 feet or whatever on each side of the bridge or whatever, and he said if push comes to shove, do the rest of it and just leave the 600 feet. And he made some mention about using that money for another road or using it somewhere else, and I'm not sure he'd have to look into any of the grant on that, because usually that stuff is pretty specific, but because I told him the bind we were in, and we didn't want to go through all the engineering fees and things like that to get things shovel ready if it's not going to happen. And I don't know, I felt a little bit more optimistic, after talking with him, that it's kind of foolish, but everything in the state's kind of been pushed back, and everyone's in the same boat, I think. So as far as that's concerned, Farner's supposed to be doing their work this month in the area with the crack ceiling and all that. That's still not done. He didn't know exactly when. He does have things marked. So that's done. And then the salt brine stuff, anticipating that we're still meeting in December with Jason, and it's optimistic that he's interested in it and doing some things with it, and because he had already purchased a few things. But once again, it's a tool in the toolbox, right? I don't want people to believe that that's all you do is when you start brining, that's all you do is brining, because that's simply not the case. So that's pretty much it for road maintenance.
Tommy, did you say that you wanted to meet in December?
Yeah, the projected date that Jason gave me was like December 6th, 7th to meet with the county.
Oh,
to do
the
that
county on
education.
Brian. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Otherwise, it's like, cool.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think that's the anticipation that something might get going in January. That he would, most likely, nothing experimental would happen until, if it's approved by us, until spring of the year.
Right, okay.
On a small scale,
Yeah.
obviously, very small scale, just to get kickoff on it. But, these things take time. I mean, a lot of times they take a whole year, so get going, so. It's not uncommon. There's a lot to it, and people don't realize that. So. The ETZ committee.
We haven't met. But there's been some activity going on in town, city zoning, town conflicts. So there probably will be some coming up soon, meetings with the city.
Thanks, Jim. Period of public comment. This is the time for the general public to come up if they have anything to say. Otherwise, the rest of the meeting, unless called upon, you would speak. So if anyone has anything to say, please come up to the podium and state your name and your address. Going once, going twice, three. Doesn't look like it tonight. All right. Applications, discussion or decision of request for variance made by Seed Schlag to allow for a reduced setback of 18 foot 6 inches from a proposed new overhang off the home to the rear lot line in a R1 zone at West 8257 Lake Terrace.
Just here.
Right here.
Sorry if I mispronounced your name.
I get it all the time.
People do it all. So you do.
Not so easy to pronounce. So the reason for the request, we're looking to add a 1 foot overhang to our roof, and there's two reasons for that. The first being that we currently don't have any overhang at all, which has resulted in us actually having some damage to our house. We have rainwater that seeps down the side of the siding. We have wood siding, and it ended up causing damage. So what we're trying to do here is we're re-siding, and we want to be proactive and put in a 1 foot overhang to prevent this in the future. The other reason is we have just minimal ventilation for the roof. We just have 2 gable end vents, no soffit ventilation at all. So we've had some problems with ice damming at the front of the house and the back of the house. So again, trying to be proactive and put in a 1 foot overhang with a soffit ventilation to, again, kind of keep the house up. So the key of the request is not a increase in square footage or anything cosmetic. It's purely just to, again, prevent any kind of future damage. So. Any questions?
And you said you talked to your two of your neighbors, correct? And they had no objection.
Yeah, so the neighbors to the south, which are mainly affected, which is lot 171 and 172, they own a dual lot. They're the key affected neighbor, and they had no concern with it. Understood that it was just 12 inches we're adding on to the roof. We also talked to owner 176, which is to the east, and no issue. I think actually our kitty corner neighbor to that.
Okay.
So I didn't have a chance to talk to you about it, but at least the one to the south was the main one. I wanted to ensure that there wasn't any concern. They had no verbal issues with it. So.
Do you have any questions, Dave?
I don't. It seems logical to me, because what is it, a 2-story house?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's going to be up so high that, and you're probably going to gutter it too, I'd imagine,
Yes.
right? Yeah, all good things.
And most houses, honestly, on the way here, I was looking like every house has an overhang of some
All
sort.
right, yeah.
I don't know why ours didn't, but again, we're kind of paying for it now. So.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, or any other discussion on that? No discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed on the same sign. Motion carries 3-0 to approve the variance request.
Okay. I'll email the signed copies to you, and then I will email it to the county so they have it for when you meet with them.
Okay, and they'll schedule that with me once all that's received.
I would make contact with them to get that scheduled.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Discussion enter decision of operator license for Crowville Oasis.
Did you check her out, Chief?
I did on the 11th.
No problem.
No problems.
I'll make a motion to approve the operator's license for Angela K. Sullivan for Crowville Oasis.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same sign. Motion carries 3-0. I think I heard Jim. My hearing is going now, so. Old business, discussion and/or decision of amendments to Town Ordinance 3-1, public nuisances.
See your the changes in yellow, which we talked about at the last meeting, are in there. The only other one, it's a little clumsy yet, on 315, abatement of public nuisance. I still don't like the way that first sentence reads. I think it should say, whenever a complaint is made to the town that a public nuisance exists within the town of Lake Mills, the town chairperson shall promptly notify. I think that would clean that up a little bit. I don't know if you want town board. Any one of us could get a complaint, and then town chair would notify the police.
It doesn't matter to me.
I mean, they doesn't work. It's either he or she or
Yeah.
Yeah, I
town
think it
chairperson.
used to say he because
Yeah.
chairperson's referred to
Right.
up there, so,
Yeah.
I just say the town chairperson
okay.
instead of they,
Alright.
and then put whenever a complaint.
Yep.
I'd make a motion to approve the revisions as stated and as outlined.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Now, then the next step is to publish,
Public hearing,
public hearing
and then
and
adopt
public.
it at the meeting following.
Right, okay.
Also the website and such.
Okay, so I'll make a motion to move it on to a public hearing.
Yeah, I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, the same sign. Motion carries to move on to public hearing. Discussion and/or decision about the ETC boundary agreement with the City of Lake Mills. Legal review of financial legal implications of the agreement and other agreements affected by the document.
I'll just expand a little bit on a couple of the issues that have come up in the recently. And one is that there's been an interest person to purchase the Lake Mills liquor locker and make it a meat market slaughterhouse again. They contacted the city zoning administrator. He told them that it was zoned planned business and it wasn't allowed by city zoning. Then I got the email and I contacted the zoning administrator for the city and I told him that I felt he was wrong in his interpretation of the agreement. What the agreement says is that any zoning that existed when the agreement went into effect 20 years ago remained that zoning. So that property is still in the town. It was still zoned business, which a meat market is allowed. And then a few days later, he got back to me, actually on Monday, and told me that I was correct, and he was a little bit quick in his response back to the potential purchaser of the property. So anyway, we both agreed that the zoning would be controlled by the extraterritorial zoning committee. They would have to meet. This person would have to petition to them to get their plans approved. But anything like that should be done prior to purchasing. I did write back to the potential owner or the person interested. Mm-hmm. Also, I don't know, I guess that didn't come up, but we got people down here on Sandy Beach Road that are all getting mixed signals or information from, I don't know who, but one guy's point went back, his water point, so he contacted the town again. Robin forwarded it to me. So then he wanted to know if he could drill a new well. Well, I looked at the agreement, and city does not have on the south growth area, they have no control over single-family residences, especially if they're in the town. And they do, and the county zoning applies to those properties down here. Doesn't, ETZ doesn't have anything to do with the south growth area, only the north. And the city only has zoning authority in the north, not the south. So I told him that he should go to his well driller. If the well driller can get a permit from the DNR to drill a well, he can drill as well. So those are the two. Well, then the other one, Country Camper, wants to purchase HD Harley. They've been getting.
That was another example, though. It's a good
Yeah, and
example.
that one has changed. I believe he's looking at a different property in the city. There was just an article in the paper about that.
Well,
Well, multiple properties, is what I gathered from my
Yeah,
conversation.
right. He wants to stay where he's at, wants to
Yeah.
purchase HD Harley, and he wants to purchase a building in the city. So, the HD Harley one, there's 10-acre parcel, 8 of it's in the town of Milford. So he's gonna go ahead and do his work in the town of Milford. Anyway, I don't know, people in town are getting run around by the city on this agreement, so I feel that there needs to be a meeting of the minds, and the ETZ should be called a meeting and get some things straightened out. But as far as the agreement, with all this stuff going on, I don't know if it's worth extending it anymore. I'm getting pretty discouraged by this. But
Well, it's discouraging when it's not going through due process and being used. It
correct.
doesn't make sense to have it then.
Exactly.
That's the difficulty.
When this was started 20 years ago, all that property north of the interstate was not in the city. Now, a big majority of it has annexed into the city. So I don't know if this agreement really is worth having anymore, because the properties along County Trunk V are the ones that are being jerked around, because anytime they want to do something, the city tells them they have to annex, which is not the way the agreement states. If they change their business or something, or change buildings, add buildings, then it's a different situation. But if they keep their buildings the way they are and just do interior remodeling, let's say, zoning isn't effective. So these people shouldn't be getting a runaround. Anyway, I think we really need to look hard at how many properties are left on County Trunk V and how many are going to be affected by it if we don't extend this agreement, and whether it's worth it. Then that lead into your legal opinion on our question, I guess.
Well,
That's all I had to.
Yeah, I mean, the legal agreement just basically specifies that, the payout happens regardless of the agreement.
Right.
The way I interpreted it.
Correct.
How much more of that we have per location, it's up in the air. So I can go either way. The problem I have with the whole thing is there's zero teeth really in this agreement. Like, you either abide by it or you, and to me, it sends the city's obviously sending a message that they don't like the agreement and they don't want it. I mean, because they're not abiding by it, or they don't want to abide by it, or they're just, kind of doing what they want to do. Which is unfortunate. I mean, anytime you have an agreement like this, but, essentially, or any kind of mutual agreement, there has to be a level of accountability, and obviously, there's not really any teeth in it to hold anybody accountable, so.
One thing other than the county said that we're the only town in the county that has any agreements with the city.
And they would be fine with it going away from what I got.
I'm sure they would.
Yeah, then it would go back to county zoning again, which
Right.
makes a lot more sense.
Because they see the confusion on people when they come in and ask questions too, when this happens, so.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess I'm up in the air. I mean, if we want to wait and see how many residences are left that this really affects, I mean, if that's, you know, if that's doing due diligence, it probably is. You know, that's a good thing. And then, you know, come back to this and, you know, make an ultimate decision and where we want to go with it. So we can get it off our,
This expires in 2022.
November 2022, yep.
yeah.
Because there is a couple little things that need to be cleaned up, because you take like Linden Street, that's a little itty bitty island. And
No, I know.
we'll get that.
Oh, yeah, I'm hearing all about it, so. All right, we'll move on here. Discussion and or decision of redistricting following the 2020 census, including potentially changing the wards within the town of Lake Mills by resolution.
And that is sort of at a standstill. My understanding is that it is now going through some legal processes. So we're going to kind of keep that on there, because once we need to take
Yeah.
action on it, we want to make sure it's on there to do so.
Okay. Nope, let's move on then. Discussion and or decision of proposed intergovernmental project agreement with the town of Oakland for the reconstruction of Hope Lake Road and STP grant. So it's been a little bit of email tag with Susan. Hopefully going to meet and get some costs figured out here. It sounds like early next week. This is all coming down the pipeline really fast, so it's kind of, what I'm going to say is it's really late in the game, and what I always get worried about when you're applying for a grant is you want to turn in something exceptional. You don't want to turn in something typically average. So, you know, if push comes to shove, you know, I'd have a lot better feeling if we had super, you know, rock solid information in our data reserve and the Whistler program, you know, to back some of this. But I'm not confident of that right now, which doesn't help the situation either.
Right, yeah, because they, you know, well, they approached us, I don't know, it was a couple months ago, about potentially taking a look at this, and the traffic study was done. Robin has a copy of that. The only real problem with that is that the week it wanted a lot of traffic, is the pit was shut down for that week, so it didn't have any dump truck traffic. But the way I kind of see the way it's kind of stacking up is, in order for the town of Oakland to have, you know, a chance of getting this grant, because the town of Lake Mills has a strip in there, we need to be on the same page. And if we can put it together, it could be a real opportunity from G all the way to Highway A. Because I think, you know, in the back of Gene's mind is, what he's looking at doing is giving him a shorter route to Highway A, which is going to be going west out of Hope Lake Road, which still involves a strip of town of Lake Mills roads.
Right. Oh, I 100% agree. I mean, I kind of like what I see there. It's just, my worry is, and not only that, I believe the person working on it's new too.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, you know, there's a lot of learning going on, obviously, through the process. You know, because they asked for cost projections for our part of the road, but, you know, to me, it's kind of silly. Like, why are you going to have your engineer do a cost projection and they have their engineer do a cost projection when you should just get a cost projection by one person for the whole road? Unless you wanted a true comparison out of each engineer for the whole road, you know, to see if there was, you know, absolute, you know, differeces.
I agree.
Can we, as a town, give them that authority to have their engineer do it? Have we investigated that?
I don't know legally if we can or not. I don't know. I mean, to me, it just doesn't make any sense to say, okay, I mean, to do your little portion of the road, have your engineer figure out that cost. Well, where's he coming up with that cost? And then whatever they're using for their, you know.
Right.
Yeah. You could have two completely different things going on, and the scalability starts to look out of whack, and then you're applying for a grant, and, you know, guess what? To me, it makes sense, you know, to look into that more and say, hey, it makes sense to have one cost on this thing, and then you just prorate it. Like, well, your cost perspective on your part of the road is that, you know, essentially this.
Have they been working with the county highway commissioner at all?
With Brian. He's been involved slightly with this.
Oh, slightly?
Yeah. Well, it's,
Well, I mean, they could.
everything is so late in the game here. It's
Oh.
kind of like, you know how busy those guys are. It's,
Yeah. Well, he would be able to give prices and things
yeah, yeah.
for both town,
Right.
Oakland and town.
Right, right.
Okay.
I'll talk to Gene a little bit Thursday night to see what he's thinking and where they're at.
Yeah, I think he's been kind of on the sidelines, but on the whole
Well,
thing.
that's what I was, yeah, because I saw some of your emails. Wait a minute.
So, but we'll see. I mean, you can turn something in and you may not get it the first year and then turn it again next year.
But then that's strike one, you know?
Yeah, I just, it's,
And keeping the engineering information up to date costs money too.
yeah, I don't, I typically don't like mad scrambles right at the end in the, essentially in the ninth inning. Because, typically a draft would be in by, a rough draft would be into the, for like Brian or somebody to look at tomorrow. Well, that's obviously not happening. Unless they're submitting something, but that I don't know about, but, not to my knowledge. So, to me, we'll see how it plays out here. Maybe it will come down, the pipeline fast, but, once I see the entirety of it, I'll have a way better idea. I haven't seen like exactly what
Yeah.
they have.
I don't know what Gene was thinking as far as a timetable, because this all came out of when the highway meeting was, I don't know, was it 2 months ago? And it spawned a couple ideas and.
Oh, yeah.
So it's a really good opportunity, and maybe this is the beginning of the talks, and maybe it is a year away.
And here's the other monkey wrench, and I don't, this may have nothing, maybe has little to do, little to do with it overall, just because this is a shared road. But, until we get a rock solid, 5-year kickback on our roads, it's really hard to project these costs.
Oh, yeah.
Like, where are you gonna get this money from?
Yeah.
And we got a lot of other costs we're staring at.
Yeah.
And increases that we're staring at. And,
Yeah, right.
It's a little bit scary. At the same time, even if it's only 20% to jump in, because it is a big road, you're still going to be into it.
Well, 20% of a paved shoulder gets kind of expensive.
Yeah.
And it depends on what are they going to use. Are they going to use a state spec? Are they going to use a county spec? We were down that road with London Road. And well, some of the problem there was the engineering and the costs were way too low,
Yeah.
and it just was not going to work for the town.
Right.
So, and you don't want to put on that road again.
Right. Now, if all that information would have been sitting in front of me,
And you
or in
knew
front
what
of
the
us,
cost was.
no, and we knew it, we had it, and we knew, what we were up
Right.
against. It makes it really easy at that point, especially when something is on the fast track to say, bang, 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 and, because you also get nervous about, on an intergovernment road, and it got me thinking a little bit about, when you're on a road like that, and you are segmenting the road off to essentially rate it. However, when you're working on the project in its entirety like this, it really makes sense that, what they're looking at is the same thing you're looking at.
Right, yeah.
When you're comparing ratings.
Yeah.
Because, if their ratings are way over here and ours is way over here, what does that do to the scope of the
Yeah.
entirety of that project?
And the last thing we want, at least what I would think I would want, would be if you get the ST grant and now traffic can run both ways on Hope Lake Road, I don't think that would be really good for the town up to Highway G. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it depends on what they're gonna make you do.
So that's what I kind of have on it. I mean, it's, unfortunately, you probably won't have anything until next meeting, and I think that's, the grant's got to be in, I believe it's the middle of October.
Yeah,
in
something
October.
like that, yeah.
It's probably a day or two after we have our meeting.
Yeah,
No, for real. I mean, I think it is. Which would give us allowable time to approve it without a special meeting if things do come down, in the fast
yeah.
track. But I'm still leery just about a couple things, and until I see the whole thing and, you know, can say, hey, this looks really good.
Yeah.
You know, I've read enough
Yeah.
grants in my life, say, yeah, this is gonna cut the mustard, and I can bounce it off a few other people.
Sure.
You know, it's hard for me to, you know, garner any type of decision.
Oh, yeah, I get it. It was just an idea, you know, and hopefully.
Oh, no, I think it's a great idea, and I think,
Because it could be a good way to get.
and it's on the table, and I don't think it should leave the table, you know, regardless. All right. Discussion and/or decision of update of HOA drainage ditch on Bridle Path by Contes. So the engineers looked at a couple of things. He's looked at the rocks and he's looked at the drain tile. Drain tile sounds cheaper to me. I mean, it sounds to me like, from Corey's perspective, that, you know, even if there was a spring there, it at least would continue to take the water, siphon it off, yeah. So, you know, it makes it a little bit more logical if you don't want any kind of standing water in there to, you know, definitely go that direction.
Okay,
It was dry though.
what's that?
It was dry about a week ago.
Yeah, it's not right now.
Dried up. No, I know, then it rained.
Yeah.
It did dry
Yes.
up.
It was, my husband was very excited. He's like, I mowed it. And I was like, yes. We're like, this will not happen probably again for a long time. Yeah, now it's very stinky and wet. Did he investigate whether that drain tile would be able to be put under the driveway culvert? I know that was one obstacle he mentioned to me. I'm assuming if he brought it to you, then yes. Because I know I talked to him.
That I don't know, I don't remember
I don't
mentioning.
think you'd be able to do that because you're gonna lose pitch. It really,
Yeah.
no.
You do this,
Yeah.
belly back, and you're gonna have sitting water.
I didn't see what you're talking about there, Tom, but I would assume you'd go in there and you would dig it out, put some clear stone down, put the tile in, and then you would just cover the whole thing in to make it friendly. Otherwise, it's not going to drain.
Yeah,
It's so
Okay, so
flat
like-
anyway.
Tiled up to the driveway culvert and then again on the other side. Then the tile would start again.
that's kind of what it sounded like to me.
Okay,
but
yeah, I wasn't sure. I know he mentioned that sometimes they can dig it deep enough and then that it would go underneath the driveway culvert. But he said that was something he was gonna look into.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't see that happening there.
yeah, I'm not
That's
sure.
out of pump.
It's a lot of boring, and I don't know how that works underneath I don't think that'd be good for underneath a culvert, because your culvert could settle or something. It just seems
Yeah,
kind of odd to me.
that's true, yeah. I'm sure he's the expert, so I'm sure if he looked into it.
I think he had given some kind of rough estimation on that project, didn't he?
I have no information. I don't even have what you just told me. I don't have any information from
I
him.
don't think he gave a cost, did he?
Did he? I thought he sent something, maybe he did. I don't know if he did. I'll have to ask him again. I just remember him mentioning it. I don't know. I guess, I don't know what rest of the board's feeling is on this. I honestly don't have a problem with the upgrade on it. What I do have a problem with, just because of the way and everything that happened in that subdivision, is the neighbor, you know, across the road has, you know, virtually nothing, and it's the same pitch in his ditch. And, you know, if we open up the can of worms where we have to start paying for everything, we're gonna be into a, you know, a $2 million neighborhood. And I don't think that's fair to the town residents. Especially with everything that's gone on in that neighborhood, you know, illegally, you know, with plantings in the ditches and stuff like that.
Right, and like none of those easements are monitored.
Back on August 9th, Corey sent you an email. This is about 280 feet worth of drain tile, would figure around 2,500 to 3,000. Perforated tile, stone, excavation, driveway, correctional bore, disposal, and restoration.
3,000 roughly
About 3,000 is the top number.
on the tile. And I think there was the rock price initially, I think, or some kind of estimate on that way back when. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but it was more than that.
To do the entire,
Just a rip wrap and all that.
yeah, that was quite a bit more.
Yeah, that was quite a bit more.
Again, I don't have any information.
I thought you got that one.
No, the only communication I've received since the last time I was here was that I spoke with Corey on the phone, and then he said he was going to talk to the board.
Okay.
And then-
Well, we can
Yeah,
get
I don't
you-
have any emails or any communications.
Yeah, we can give you both of those options. I don't have, I think the smarter one, personally, is probably the tile, if you don't want to see water, if you don't want
Right,
to see
the
water.
goal, I think, is to get the water moving away, right, and at least underground. Our concern was that the rocks would just continue to settle since it is so wet in the area and they'll be so heavy that over time will just sink into the ground, and then we're still going to have a really big low point where it's going to pool.
And as far as the HOA was concerned, they didn't have any concerns with anything, or?
No. With having any work done,
Yeah.
yeah, no concerns. They said they would approve anything that got the water out of there.
Okay, I just forwarded that email that Corey sent to Tom for that 3,000 estimate.
Okay.
Which sounds like the direction you want to go anyways, rather than the all
Yeah,
rock.
I think that would be a better long-term situation. I'm just concerned about the rocks, like with settling and needing to be filled back in.
Yeah.
And that the water would still be sitting there,
Right.
just hidden, so.
Well, you could always have cattails, but probably don't want those.
Yeah, yeah.
I think one clarification I needed, I think that was kind of out there too, is who's responsible for the cost? We probably should
Right.
get that on record.
Right.
Why are you looking at me?
Well, I'm just
I'm
looking
not
at
gonna
you.
pay for it.
Well, no, that's why I was gonna ask if you were, what your thoughts were on that, and as far as the town's concerned.
I think that the,
Because there was a lot of money spent on that ditch, wasn't there?
Right.
oh, yeah.
6,000 or 7,000.
Oh, twice,
Yeah.
or 6, and then another 3 or something,
Yeah.
close to 10. I think that the town has the authority to assess everyone in that neighborhood that's gaining a benefit from that drainage ditch. That's my opinion. By statute, you can do that. Everybody that's properties drains down that ditch can be assessed a portion of that, and cleaning up this pond too. That's my feeling.
Yeah, I remember you
I mean,
mentioned that in the
we
past.
got the statutes that says we have the authority to do
Right.
special assessments. That would spread it out, because there's no HOA for it. No,
It's not established yet?
or is there any? I
I'm
can't
in the
remember.
old HOA, like the original one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They're in
phase
the
two.
original.
but the town owns the pond and the drainage ditches, correct?
And we can
That was
assess
all
that.
deeded to us.
Right.
Yeah,
So we could, any improvements in those can be
Yeah.
assessed to everybody that gets benefits from by statute.
yeah, I don't know how many houses that is.
Well, everybody up that hill.
Yeah,
in
both
phase-
directions, both
Both
directions.
directions.
Because it goes like
It's
this.
almost everybody in that phase
30.
1 and 2, yeah, phase 1 and 2.
Yeah.
I'm not looking at, I'm just,
Yeah. I
anyway, that's my opinion.
feel like it's a tricky situation because it's not our right of way to choose what to do and to do the work. This is a teamwork approach, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like the precedent was already set before that it was the town's responsibility to, so I mean, it's really your discretion, I guess.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the town's responsibility to take care of any drainage problems, because those ditches, and it was a poor developers agreement back, and I guess I was involved in that, so I got to take some of the blame. I wasn't chairperson, but I was on the board.
Did he give you a drawing of the tile? 'Cause
No,
how are you
I
gonna
don't
have
think there was one in
a
there.
tile and be able to get it to drain and still be able to take
I asked
care
him,
of the
and
surface
I was
water?
more worried about the spring, just continuous water flow through. And he's
Yeah.
like, well, it'll just keep moving. That was his response to me, so I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't know.
He did mention to me the need for a survey. Did you discuss that with him?
I did not, and he did not mention to me anything about a
Okay,
survey.
that was, most of our conversation was the understanding that we don't actually know the grade from the one drain to the next which are the two fixed points. So our concern was that we would need 3 to 4% grading to keep the water moving.
Right.
2% would be like a minimum, less than ideal, that would keep water moving. And he said, at this point, it's hard to tell what that grade is without getting a survey. So that we might be exploring options that may not even work if we don't have that grade or knowing where the grade lies on each side of the driveway culvert.
Yeah, I know. In the initial discussions I had with him, he looked at it and he's just like, it's flat. You're not gonna and I mean, obviously I've done enough work with transits to know that, yeah, it helps to do that.
Right. I mean, especially when it's such a fine distinction, right, of the grade. We know there's not a lot of grade there, but what are we working with? And where does the driveway culvert kind of play into that?
Yeah, I mean, I wish he would have said something about that, because
Yeah, we really talked about, because my idea is, I don't want the town to spend money that's not going to be a viable solution, right?
Well, we need an end solution.
Right, I already did that once.
Because we're
and that's-
spending a lot of money here.
Right, and that's where I was like, maybe the rocks aren't the best solution. Can we explore other options, right? We want to make sure that it's going to be long-term and be effective, and kind of putting in the time to make sure of that before the work is done. So we're not in this, back where we started. So that was something, I guess, that he felt pretty strongly about, but if he didn't talk to you about it.
Well, yeah, because he kind of needs to go ahead, to do something like that, so.
Right.
Town board.
Your driveway's concrete, correct?
It is, yeah. And we even mentioned if it's the driveway culvert that's a problem in getting the correct grading, then we would be willing to, perhaps get that torn out and a new one put in if a different height would get the flow of the water going.
Well, the problem is the people downhill, you're not going to improve, you're not going to change the rest of the neighborhood, 'cause you're not going to change the drainage pond elevations.
Nope.
You're not changing any of that.
No.
No, he just mentioned that it was the drain further down in our neighbors. That is the 2 points that would be graded in between. So from the corner and then into the next house where
think-
the other culvert.
I think a good
We need an overall plan.
A solution would be to get our engineer to shoot those inverts of the culvert on Bridle Path and, that intersection. I don't know what the roads are.
Saddle lane.
Saddle Lane, Bridle Path, shoot that invert and shoot the invert of that drain that cuts across to
The street to the pond.
Yeah, that's what.
and then figure out what has to be done in between to get this water to flow. And maybe it doesn't work, but
What's
if
done,
we don't
it's
have
over.
those inverts
Right.
and an engineer study of how that would work, we're kind of at a loss. So I think,
Right, trial and error, I don't think is the best approach, right? If we,
Oh, I
those
don't wanna do that
measurements,
No,
right.
it worked before.
I mean, I think the right approach here now is that you're exactly right about that, but he essentially has to do that and put the best plan on the
yep,
table
yep.
for us, because we're just bouncing around here with
Right,
this.
we're not the experts, right? I mean, hopefully.
I would make a motion that we get the engineer to do a drainage study for that ditch.
Second.
Drainage study. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposing, same sign. 0, passes 3-0 to have them do the survey assessment and get us a plan.
Thank you.
All right, discussion and decision of forming a committee with appointments to serve on the Town Hall Facilities Committee. It's tabled. I don't have anybody new in this.
I've not heard from anybody,
Right.
so if anybody's interested in serving on the facility committee, we would like to hear from you.
Yep. All right, there's a G and it's blank. I'm assuming there's a blank there. New business. Discussion and or decision of joint Rock Lake Committee goals is provided by the committee. All right. Well, my commentary on it is, there's a lot here, obviously. A lot of different little identified goals and go in a lot of different directions. No really associated plan with them or budget with them or grant proposal with them, or, something along those lines. I mean, grants are huge, and I can't promote that enough because we don't have a lot of money at the town level, and we need every grant we can get. So anytime we can tie that to, a project, I think that's really, really important. And definitive timeline as to, when something would start and when something would finish. Through my experiences in a lot of different programs and certification programs and goals and working with teams, if you don't have that stuff, you end up putting a lot of things on a piece of paper and you don't get anything accomplished. And I think having really focusing on one thing and, attacking it and getting a good plan together and getting it done is really, really important. So you're not focused in too many directions and, kind of spinning your wheels. I'm not sure on the backside, there's not a bullet number 4 on that Mahala Channel thing. And what I will say, that one was on Jim's issues list way early on that he had given us. Because I know there's been definite issues with that one. And there's some other things in here which I could probably tie or associate it to with something about drainage and things like that. And out of all the drainage problems in the lake right now, that's probably the one that's the absolute albatross and the worst. And unfortunately, it got pushed from a different era into this era, and I would really not like to see it get pushed into any future board or any future committee. I would like to see the entire project, the channel itself, and anything upstream from the project, some kind of recommendation come from the JRLC, potential grant opportunities, the pros, the cons, a good plan for solving the issue, and get it taken care of so nobody else has to deal with this for a long, long time. I feel it's a disservice to the town and the town residents and the community to push this on to any further councils, committees, and the community. Because the longer it goes on, the worse it's going to get. And unfortunately, when the channel fills up, I know as well as anyone else that if I was a taxpayer on the water and now I don't have access to the water, I'm not going to pay the taxes to live on water because there's no water there anymore. They're going to be down here kicking and screaming to the town board that their taxes are too high, their tax assessments are too high. So it's a navigable channel defined by the DNR, and I think, since it was already on an issue list, that the town board, acknowledged that, that be the focus. But that's my personal opinion.
And can I make a comment on that, Tom? So, first of all, the priorities, the details of the priorities are in the minutes. Hello? Susan Trier. The details of that letter are in the minutes so that you can see a little bit more of the tasks associated with going at the projects that were identified. And the committee did write the town board in February asking for input. We received none. So this was what the committee voted on. On the Miljala Channel, I agree with you. A grant is a very important aspect. However, the JRLC does not have standing to get a grant, a surface water grant. So we are not in that position to do that. We are trying to support the Rock Lake Improvement Association, which actually does have standing to get the grant, and they're working on it, and we need to get you an update on that. The other associated thing that's really important...
You can make a recommendation for the town board to achieve a grant. We can achieve grants. That's right in the ordinance, if you read the ordinance. We should be going after every grant that we can, and that
It is
recommendation
in
should
the
come from
ordinance
the
about the
committee.
JRLC to be able to get and coordinate grants, but for the surface water grant, the JRLC is not eligible. I did look into that for you, Tom. The other thing that's really important to note, that with the navigable channel,
I don't know if that's
did-
100% true, but.
I did check with the DNR in detail with the surface water grants, and there is no grant to dredge the channel because it's a recreational dredge. I've looked at trying to talk about it from a legacy phosphorus dredge. However, it's pretty firmly, strongly no. And so we do have to work upstream of the ditch. So
Did you check with the federals and the EPA grants? 'Cause there's an EPA Mississippi grant going on right now for drinking water, that anything coming downstream that's flowable that goes that direction.
not with the drinking water, no. Not for our situation. They did hold out some hope that if we frame it in removal of legacy phosphorus, there is some possibility not to be mixed with the solution upstream, was the strong recommendation. As you know, even the launch fees, the DNR does not show support for dredging of
That
channels.
doesn't, not that, no.
Right.
That I know.
So anyways, I agree the Miljalo Channel is an important aspect, and it's something that we need to support and work together on. And then for details on some of those priorities, you just read the minutes associated with that appointment.
Yeah, because I know there is 50/50 match grants for navigable channels in the DNR, because I talked to somebody about it. So, whether
We're
they
trying
could.
to get a 75-25, 25% matching grant, 75% funded by the DNR to work on stabilizing the banks associated with the Miljalo tributary.
Correct. Well, that would be excellent as well,
Yep.
to give it absolute longevity. So anyways, I think it's one that, one obviously focus that, because it's a big project overall, to focus on that and look at that and make sure that we get that taken care of, because I don't think it's fair to keep passing the buck on this thing. And it's only getting worse, and, there's more and more people getting agitated about it, not just people that live on the channel, but people that are in the community. And I've had some pretty good discussions about that channel project with the city council president as well.
Well, that would be great one of the things the Rock Lake Improvement Association is going to need from the town would be a letter of support, the importance of the project to the DNR so that our grant looks better. We would love to have you draft that. We could give some recommendations and put that on the agenda for October. The grant is due November 1st, so we could use that support from the town.
Now, is that grant being funded through the JRLC, or is that grant coming from a different source?
As I said...
Who's applying? Who's applying for the
As
grant?
I said, when I talked to the head of the DNR's grant program, Ally McCullough, she said the JRLC did not have standing for these particular grants, so they're going in through the Rock Lake Improvement Association. It was the fastest way to get the grant. If it had gone through the town or the county, you would have had to continue to vote. The town, I didn't think, has the bandwidth to go ahead and do the grant unless you're going to pay somebody to put the grant forward. So it appeared the fastest way to move forward with the grant was through the RLIA, and the grant's due November 1st. So we put in a pre-application September 1st.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on any?
Can the Rock Lake Improvement Association send a letter to the town board requesting that letter?
Yeah.
Would you like it that way?
Yes.
Yeah. It'd be nice, because we didn't know about it. I didn't know
I
about
know, I just found out about it myself, so right now I've been in the process of trying to figure out who would be good people to write a letter of support, and so we could draft a note to you, or we could come to your October meeting. So why don't I draft a note and then give a couple examples of other ones that have been done, so it's a little easier to write, and then you could vote on that for the October and have it done. That would be fabulous.
Okay.
it. Yeah, we could do that for sure.
Any other questions on,
Do you have any other questions on any other
No.
topics?
No.
and like I said, you could.
Or which direction we should go, or focus on 1, 5, 4, 3, 2
Well,
things, 3 things, 4
I agree,
things?
it's a lot, there's a lot here, and you want to complete it in 8 months. I think that's pretty,
Well, if you took what we did as outlined in the minutes of the meeting, we had individual board members who wanted to work on various projects. These are all very much wheelhouse projects. And we were looking at it much longer than an 8-month timeframe. As you can imagine, dealing with recreation on the lake isn't done in 8 months. So,
well, it says, may the next 8 months be productive for all of us, that's all.
right.
Right, that's why they said some kind of time frame associated with each thing is always very helpful, because it helps us make, a recommendation on things to work on, on the basis of that, to, so we know, it puts us in the best position to help you guys out as well.
That's a great idea.
Otherwise we're lost. We're really
Provide
lost.
you input on a monthly basis on where we are on each of those and what help we could
Yeah.
look at. That would be excellent.
Be much appreciated.
Okay, do we need approval of this?
Do you want to approve the whole thing, or approve, one or more line items? That's what the question I had for part of the discussion. I'm more in the aspect of put one thing on the table and let's work on it and see how much we can get done on it and get close here to get something wrapped up.
Okay, so which one do you want to focus on?
Well, my recommendation was Mahala, just because I want to see it.
John,
I want to see a recommendation so we can make a decision. So we can put it to rest.
all right, I'll make a motion.
Hopefully it improves the whole situation and everybody is, happy with the result.
Make a motion to have the Joint Rock Lake Committee set their priorities on the Magella Channel research.
Can we get a second? Any other discussion?
Can you dig up all of the old recommendations that was done by the university, the extension? I know that was done a long time ago, but it might be a place to start.
Absolutely. The UW report done in 2012 and the Montgomery Associates report done in 2014 are on the website of the Rock Lake Improvement Association under Lake Management. I can send you, Dave, the links, and they are very much the basis of what we're asking for to move forward.
Yeah, could you do
Because
that?
all that money was spent and the design was put in place. Yep.
Right, yeah.
Send that link
To all of you?
no, send
Send it to Robin, please.
Send it to Robin. She'll get it.
So we all get it.
For us.
There's a lot of emails that come in.
Yeah.
Okay. I will do that for you. And then you want us to make a recommendation for you? Like I said, we are not in standing to do the grant, but we can make a
Yeah,
recommendation.
absolutely, yeah. Did you have anything else?
Oh, no, that was it. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, and the same sign. Anyone abstinence? Motion carries 3-0 to work on the Mahala, focus on the priority of the Mahala Channel project for the Joint Rock Lake Committee. Okay. B, discussion and or decision to do updated testing on the Mahala Channel. There we go again. At some point, it's going to get dredged one way or another, I'm assuming.
So what's the testing for? Just to test the water coming through?
Yeah, more to test, that and sediment to see, what's existing in there, so when they do go to do a dredge, what's coming up and they know how to best handle the situation. I mean,
Right.
obviously, with whatever it is, you just want to get it out of there, but you want to do the least environmental, ecological damage as possible, and the more information you have, the better. With that said, testing, it can go from, a basic package, which, isn't horribly expensive, and it can go way over here depending on what y'all want to test for. Because you can do the standard nutritional testing, you can do, and then get into the heavy metals, and you can get into the herbicides and all that good stuff.
It's expensive.
Residues. That starts to, costs and things like that start to climb.
When Wes Dawson did the dredge permit, he went through and did all that work. He has the permit, he's got estimates, he's got how much product would need to be done. You don't need to do additional testing of the sediment in order to execute against that dredge.
You don't.
Yes.
You don't. That's
And-
correct.
And as far as, Dave, as far as the water coming into the channel, that is currently being tested. And RLA paid to have additional tests done on a monthly basis. We have some volunteers taking it. They
Yeah,
feel
that's
it's
what I
the
thought.
purest value of the water going into the channel is on that side of Cedar Lane rather than in the channel itself. So that data is available for you and everyone.
It'd be helpful to have that data, all the data on what it is and who's doing the testing and what they're testing for, obviously, because that range of
They're
testing,
doing water quality.
like I said, that range testing can be here, and there's a lot of different things that you can test for, and obviously, we're in an agricultural community, and there's a lot of different things going on. And we just want to make sure that we're looking at everything before, we just start, doing random testing. Because there are some really good testing facilities too that focus on things like this, or do things for the EPA and other places, so.
Do you know when that permit Wes has expires?
I'd have to look it up, but I think you've got at least 3 more years, correct? There was a 5-year permit and you've lost a year, I know.
And 1 year's gone? Mm-hmm. So you got 4 left?
I would like to see the town look at get a cost to set up a backhoe on Cedar Lane. Reach out as far as you can by the turbidity curtain and clean that end out. Last winter or spring when the water was low, there was no water there. It was just mountains of mud. It's an easy time to clean that all out and redo that turbidity curtain. At least you'd get that done. And then, I don't know if that helps, but I think it's a start for next spring. Huh?
Yeah, and I guess we'd have to know how fast the upper part's going to be done, because the upper part is imperative to everything else that goes on.
Right.
Otherwise, you're just going to fill back up
You just
again.
have lipstick
Well,
on.
no, yeah.
What do you mean by the upper part?
It was dredged though that
All the
thing
way
was
up
dredged.
the ditch lines through all the properties coming into the,
Right.
coming into that
So,
spot.
Yes, the ditch properties, if we got the grant, would be for this amount of
10
water.
years, 10 years. the
But
property-
what I'm saying is, he's saying dig it out, but if we don't,
So,
do anything with the upper and it all just comes pouring back in, we've just spent a bunch of money.
So it was prior to that.
Whether how fast that happens, I don't know, but I don't like to bet against the land of
It's a
water.
self-cleaner.
so that channel has been dredged twice, I know.
Oh, many more than that.
Well, that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
When I was on the board, it was dredged. The town fronted the money, it was
Yeah.
back charged to
And back
10
charged.
property owners.
That was
Done.
1998.
Then it was done after that again.
Yeah.
That property owners
I think twice after that, because the
Twice?
house sent them at the Arlie Wilkie's.
Right, and I was going to say 2015. The one thing that I was going to share with, we had the one farmer that was willing to that took all the stuff,
Yeah, that was Arlie Wilkie.
Arlie
Yeah.
Wilkie, and he has said that he would take that again. The one question that we had is I looked up, talking about the Majala, the test that is in the channel to find out kind of what we had. I had contacted Eurofin, Test America, they're a well-known nationwide company, just to give us an idea. And I had reached out to Sandy. I turned that information over to Tom, and because he knows a little bit more about it. And also, in the process of that, knowing that, it also helps you with when we eventually do the dredging on it, it helps you to mitigate how you're going to do it and where you can take it and all that. So we just thought that having this test done in the channel, water and sediment, would just give us a little more of an idea of the people that are on that channel and other people that really know. I'm not talking about the testing on the other side. I'm talking the testing within the channel. And I think that that would help us understand what
And
we
that's
have
water
here.
and sediment, I'm assuming.
Water and sediment, yeah. Thank you.
You know, and that's true, I agree with what you're saying, but on the flip side of that, if it's deemed being full of heavy metals, it has to go to a landfill, it gets very expensive. But if it's allowed to be land spread, a couple ton per acre, you know, sometimes you're better off not knowing.
That's
Really?
actually.
You can pick what you take. I mean, you could do a limited test. You don't need to have, it's so from, the amount of things that you can test for is unbelievable.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would say do just the minimal test.
Like NP and K, is that what you're looking for?
Well, I think we'd have to get costs, and that's why, I think we can talk about it a little bit more, because I just think that, it does range. I mean, the company he's referring to, they're globally renowned, worldwide. I mean, it's probably, if I send a water sample in, and I have from my own house, that's where it goes, because I know they're the best. I've worked with them in agriculture a long time. It's a very, very good company, but, we do need to reel in a little bit and say, are the couple focuses here, and, what is this going to cost? Because someone's got to come out, professionals are going to come out and take the samples. It's not going to be a bunch of it's not going to be, you're not going to get holdouts out of a company.
If it's required to do it, that would be one thing, but if it's not required, why would you want to spend the money?
It's not.
That will get expensive, especially if you start separating human fecal matter to an animal, to a bird, to a fur, hair covered, it gets really expensive.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
No, I don't disagree with you there on the expense portion. We're always trying to be, I think everyone tries to be environmentally conscientious, and obviously if you don't what you don't know and it can go to one place versus another is always a good thing from a cost perspective, but it environmentally passes the buck too. So are you doing due justice? I don't know. I'd have to look into it further personally. I feel this is committee work. Like, this is something that JRLC should be working on, because, and it falls within the scope of that project. Why are we spending our time on it? We've got 10 million other things to do. That's why we have that committee, is to focus on things like this and get the pros and cons and get the build out and the cost and all that stuff and bring it back and say, hey, and then you can make an educated decision and, say yay or nay on it. But that's my personal opinion on it.
In response to Jim's question, would you find it useful for me to give you the dates and the amounts that was dredged before and where Wes is? Because he was going to bring that to the board in November, but I could draft up an email to you with it now rather than waiting until November, so that you have some idea at least where he started and the costs and who he spoke to.
Yeah, well, we did work at that channel, or that culvert last
Fall.
fall.
That's fall.
That was with all the riprap that you
Yeah.
laid down.
Yeah, we moved, West didn't do any, so then we moved it all kind of in our direction, and town did all that, so. Yeah, that would be helpful, with that information.
So I'll get you that, and then you want me to get the water quality testing just from the Cedar Lane coming in from the ditch?
Is that sediment or just water?
It's water.
But not
That's
sediment, there's no sediment testing in that.
Not right now,
right.
because it was already determined what the sediment was before, and nothing's changed. So we're testing water quality, trying to determine phosphorus loads and things like that, which is the real concern going into the lake.
Right.
And then you also want us to do a recommendation, so I've got those three things noted.
We do need to probably, if we're going to have them do the testing too, that probably should be a motion, because we made a motion for the other part.
Right, no, exactly, if we're gonna include that is to get that work done by then too. I just think it's good. The other thing I look at too, and, from an industry standard is, I've dealt with labs a long time in my career on the disease front, pest and disease front, disease primarily, but, and some soils issues too. Sometimes it's good to have a comparison, because, not all samples are created equally, and knowing that process, I think, we're a little bit blind right now as a board as to, what transpired to get these samples and things like that. And it's hard for me to make a decision until, I kind of see that, and how that was taking place, and, what was the depth and scope of it, of what went on there. There's water and sediment, there's a lot of sediment, there's a lot of settled sediment in the lake. Inevitably, we just want to get it out of there. I agree 100% with that, and Dave's perspective, one way or another. So it's not good. The longer things sit, break down components and everything else, they just start unbinding. But I think this should be, honestly, I think this should be moved in the testing portion too, to be inclusive to that project. I mean, that's the way I feel. To look into that and come back with a firm recommendation, and with the other materials they have as well.
Do you want them to make a recommendation of the testing? Not actually have the testing done, but the
Make a recommendation on here's the layout, this is what the testing entails, these are pros, cons, costs, this is the scope, how much could be done extra on top of what we already have, that sort of thing. It'd be nice to hear that.
Could you check and sit down with Patricia to find out exactly what they're doing and what they have done? We don't want to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
Because that just, to
I
figure out
agree.
where we need to take that next step.
Yep.
Sure, I will talk with her. I do know I've talked with her in the past, and she feels like it's always great to have more information, but there is a history of information, and that
Yes.
this really isn't needed.
Yeah.
That is the county's water and land conservation's opinion, so.
Right.
But I will summarize that up for you.
Great.
That would be easier.
That would be excellent. So we want to make a motion, can we get a motion to have them make that recommendation?
Or are you just gonna ask them to do it?
I make a motion that they research that and give us a report back as far as what's been done, what could be done. You're going to work with them on I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any other discussion?
Are you going to work with them on the engineer portion of it?
I can, yeah.
Okay.
As in this new testing company?
If we need to do that, or have them
Yeah, to
investigate.
get prices or whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, I can get them that information.
Okay, I guess I don't understand the motion. If I'm responsible for producing for the motion, what am I doing? Am I providing what Dave asked, which is what we tested?
The history and Jim's,
history?
and what Jim said, and what we can do, or what we could also do, essentially.
So, and.
Which would be that portion of looking at other stuff and expanded testing and that sort of thing.
For this other company and whatever.
Any company, it doesn't even have to be this one. Just looking at expanded testing. It could be with anybody. That part of it doesn't matter to me.
And you would help provide some of.
I can provide you with some information I have and send it your way.
Okay.
It'd be nice to have a cost associated with it.
Yeah.
too, though.
Yeah.
So whatever Tom's, and you decide on what testing needs to be done, and contact an engineering firm or the one he recommends to get the price, an estimate.
You want to add that as an amendment to the motion? That the cost
I
be
think this
included?
is, yeah.
That was in the vague could also
Yeah.
part.
Just making sure.
It's a very vague motion.
Okay, the motion's on the floor, has been seconded, so now here I've got a call question.
The one that you just said, that
It's
added
been
cost.
made and seconded.
Oh, yeah, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposing, the same sign. 0, passes 3-0. To get the updated information that we need.
One other thing when you're talking with Patricia, just see what she would recommend as far as additional testing and what is necessary and what's not necessary.
Oh, there, okay.
I will do that.
All right, thank you.
Discussion enter decision of Joint Rock Lake Committee budget. I don't think one was forwarded yet, because you didn't have your meeting, right? Is that correct?
We didn't have a forum, so we couldn't do it. We'll do it on the 23rd is our next meeting. The 21st is our meeting to talk about the budget.
Okay, excellent. Moving on. Discussion enter decision of estimates for retention upon maintenance. We got all that, or some of it. Did you give me, were we going to discuss Matt's?
We got 2.
I didn't see Matt's. Oh, okay.
My understanding with Matt's is that
That came in late too, right?
he is estimating about 1 day's worth of work.
Yeah, estimated 10 hours, yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be more, takes more,
Who's it? Yes. Again?
completed quicker than it is.
Okay, well, something caught my eye here. Just,
I think you're looking at Ron's where if it took less than he estimated, it would reduce the price. I think that's what you're thinking of, isn't it?
well, no, what caught my eye is this right here, because this is what I was worried about, is would be able to complete the work necessary to meet the requirements of the Lake Mills engineering specs. It's written in his estimate. It's not written in Matt's estimate. So we don't know what we're gonna get. Well, we know we're gonna get some of this stuff, but is it gonna be, when we send Corey back over to check it out and make sure it was done right, is
Was
it?
that part of what you had sent to, that's part of what
Yeah,
you
I think
sent
it was
to them,
in
is
there.
that had to be by the specs, right?
I'm pretty sure it was in there, But I mean, I like it in there anyway. It needs to be in there because that's what it's all about, is meeting those specs.
I would suggest that that be part of the motion, is that they have to do it by specs where we're
Yeah,
deciding.
right, exactly.
Right,
Yeah. I did, Matt's not here tonight, is he? Ron's here. Ron, I got a question. It's a little off. It's roughly $6,000. I know thing's a mess over there, right? We all know that. Standard, like, maintenance for that thing, if it wasn't in that condition, like if it was in an annual condition or something like that, in a normalized condition where it was being done sooner than way later.
I would recommend it being done on each time we mow, twice a year.
Yeah. So I mean, the cost comparison would be, I'm just looking for scalability
It would
here.
be almost nothing, because I'm gonna mow it with, I'm gonna mow it with my mower when I'm done.
Yeah,
It's
right.
6 inches. And if you, once you get it down there, as long as you're not adding, and I did try getting a hold of people to find out if you're gonna add anything, or if you're just cleaning it, and it's gonna be clean and stay clean. Because if it's gonna get cleaned and stay clean, you can go in there with the same mower I mow roads with and mow it.
Yeah.
And then you're probably talking 2 hours. Have it look really nice
Yeah, gotcha.
once it's done.
And Tom, it really looks good. You should have saw it 5 years ago. It was really bad.
Was it bad?
It was a forest.
It looks pretty bad now. I was over there not too long ago.
Did you clean it 5 years ago? You didn't?
I'm just trying to get perspective on like how.
Oh, and then, right, I think maybe, twice a year, might be, a bit more, at least once a year. That way if there is some.
Right, I mean, over the course of time, where does, how does that?
Otherwise,
cost
it was maintenance and then we just sat for 3
The
years.
reason I
Nobody
say
did
it
nothing.
twice a year is because all the places that we maintain the buckthorn and everything for, within 3 years, you stop all the invasive
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
keep cutting it,
Yeah.
twice a year.
Which is, but
You
it
don't
is
have to use
fine.
any.
Yeah.
No cross it,
I don't know if they can get
Right.
back in there.
you just eliminate it.
I was just wondering if that could be added to like our regular mowing schedule and just not have it mowed every time, but twice a year so it gets done.
Yeah, and
Sure, it's on
it's
the
a,
schedule.
it's a little touchy-feely because that is a dry pond, but it does take water, so you don't.
No, you gotta be careful, yeah.
You have to pick the right time of the year to go through,
Yeah.
so it's tough to schedule, but yeah, and it very well could be.
You just
As
don't
long
wanna
as-
wait this long. That's the thing that I was looking at, because if you do have a big rain event, and
Yeah.
if that thing's clogged on the end, you got a big problem.
Oh, yeah, right, yeah. And as long as we can maintain the access coming in off of Woodfield Lane by the pump station, which really is not ours.
Was there anything I didn't, I
Matt's-
don't remember what the engineering thing states, but is anything on here that's missing? I mean,
No, I just like it, it needs to be in our motion, because, I don't, sometimes with work like this, it's like, this is what, 1 day's worth of work. Does that mean it all gets done, or is it gonna mean now he's going back in
Yeah,
there
no.
a second day?
and
That's,
we're gonna pay.
that's,
Yeah. Takes 2 days on a 6,000 again.
I figured 3 days worth of work.
3?
Yeah.
There's a lot of cutting in
In that 3 days, I'm counting a chipper, and I'm not gonna cut with, I could come in there with a brush tractor and get it done in 1 day and have it flat. Didn't have all the evasive right there.
Yeah.
So I'm planning on ground cutting everything. And then, like I said, if you mowed it twice a year, even if you ground cut it, whatever suckers come up and stuff, 2-3 years from now, you're just having whatever natural grass there is.
Are they spraying? You spraying?
I do not like to use anything in any kind of pond.
I mean, as far as when you cut the box elder stumps off and stuff.
I will not spray it, I'll brush it.
Brush it, yeah, okay, but you're gonna put a chemical,
yeah.
it's pesticide on there, whatever.
Yeah, well, you gotta do what's legal, right?
Right.
And then once again, like I said, if you maintain it, even if you don't spray it, you will get rid of it.
Eventually.
Yes, about 3 years. I do a lot of towns, you can ask them, I've eliminated buckthorn.
Oh, I know
tried to get rid of
buckthorn.
it for 50 years.
That's an ugly one.
No, buckthorn is nasty.
Yeah, you certified, you got a certified applicator, obviously. Yeah. I know Matt, I think Matt does too, or he is. I think I asked him, so. That part's not an issue.
Well, Northwest Services, that's the extreme, 6,000.
Yep.
And it could be less. It takes less than 3 days. So it's 2,000 a day. And the other one's 3,000 for 10 hours.
I don't know what you get with 10 hours.
Well, apparently
You have to
do a
go
third
in
of
there,
it.
10 guys, 10 guys in there. I mean, and you're paying 10 guys, you're not making a whole lot off that 10 hours.
Didn't Forrest bid this a couple years ago?
I don't think he bidded that one, I think he bidded the ones that were
The other two?
phase 3 subdivision, I think is where his,
That was even a lot higher than 6,000.
yeah, it was, yeah,
Like
like
11
12 or 14 or
Yeah.
something like that.
I know there's a lot of work there. I make a motion to approve Northwest Services to do the work.
Second, not to exceed $6,000.
Right. And per engineering specs. Engineer specs.
He's already got it in this thing here, so
Okay.
we're good there. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye, all opposed, the same sign. Motion carries 3-0 to approve Northwest Services to complete the work as necessary to clean the town maintenance or drainage pond. That's it.
Do you guys want to sign one of those, we can give it to him right away? He's got it for his record.
My question would be, can you email me your engineer's number so that I can have them get close to completion, come and verify we've done it?
I think,
You can just call one of,
yeah, I think we'll work,
just contact Robin, and then we'll get that information out to him. That's the easiest way to do it.
yeah.
Date it.
Yeah, what's the date?
Today's the
14th.
14th.
Yeah. Sorry. Long night.
Ron, you want to take this for your record right away?
Sure.
E, discussion and/or decision of driveway permit review for North 6620 Crowville Road, owned by Amanda and Brian Wallace.
I put this on, I was asked to have this put on because that driveway's a long driveway. And I know in the permit it states that they have to abide by our ordinance 5-7, which states that any slopes greater than 20%, it can't be any greater than 20%. And according to the information here from the county, because they're way up on that hill, there's some red, which they're gonna have to cross, which is greater than 20%. Plus also, any distance greater than 400 feet or 800 feet needs a turnout of 20 foot wide by 60 feet long at a midpoint. And then the driveway has to end in a 50-foot radius cul-de-sac or a T-type intersection. So when people build a house on a hillside way off the road, like a long driveway, they have to provide, and with these slopes, they, as my opinion is, they need to provide us with an engineered driveway plan, so our engineer can go out there and look at it and approve it. And this needs to be done before they get their occupancy permit. Now, I don't know, Dave, if you talked to them about when you issued the culvert permit?
Yeah, and what they are supposed to do is right on the curve or near that curve is where their turnout is going to be, because that's approximately halfway. And I guess, Jim, you know, when I look at that driveway, I get it, but to me, the slope really isn't that bad, and it's so far onto their own, I'm going to call it personal problem. I mainly look at, you know, where it's entering the road or within that, 100 feet of entering the road, as long as that's pretty flat. I guess I don't have an issue with it. I could talk to them about, because I'm trying to remember what they said they were going to do up by their house. I know they were going to have a big enough turnaround so that a UPS truck could come up and would be able to just make a complete circle to get around. Right, that was our conversation. I guess that's my feeling on it. Well, take a look at Spoke's driveway, where that's a California driveway that comes right out onto Airport Road. Tim, remember we had him in here on the town board. He swore up and down that was only 17% slope. If that's a 17% slope, these guys' driveway is pretty flat. Because it's also a short distance too. That it's a downhill slope, but I guess I don't think it's that bad because it's so far up on their own personal property. It doesn't affect the entrance to the road.
Yeah, but you're dealing with fire trucks, and the whole purpose of our driveway ordinance on our driveway this long is for safety and protection of people and property.
Right.
And there's no way that a fire truck's going to come up into there and put a house fire out and be able to go back, make a turn, and get the heck out of there to refill and get water, unless there's a turnout. Because if they meet on a 10-foot wide driveway, they're screwed. That's what purpose of the turnout, for fire trucks to meet. And it's also, how do you turn around a fire truck up by the residence if you don't have a 50-foot radius? Also, the ordinance states, it's right in our permit. It says that they comply with the ordinance. Now, if they're greater than 20% slopes or 20% slopes, they still have to pave. Anything above 16% has to be paved. Less than 16% can be gravel. They have a radius on the corner here that has to be 50-foot radius. Oh, and the driveway has to be 14 feet wide at that radius point. Because a fire truck can't turn on a 10-foot wide road and on a 50-foot radius. He's going to be on the gravel in the ditch. So that's why the road has to be an additional 4 feet wide so you can make that turn.
Right.
That's the purpose of our ordinance. If we're not going to make people people that want to build, I know I'm preaching, but when I bought my property, I got a 1,000-foot driveway. Okay, I have 1,000, full disclosure, 1,000-foot long driveway. I don't comply to any of this either, but I purchased that property, that driveway was there. I didn't move back off the road 1,000 feet. Like these people had the opportunity to put this house here along the road where we want homes, but they preferred to be up here, and our plan commission and everybody approved this, not Tom or I, the previous, this was done in 2018, without mentioning any of this to these people. So I guess I'm a little frustrated. Why have an ordinance if we're not going to enforce it? There.
Well,
It's for safety reasons. It's
I
not
have to
just to
agree
get
with
a UPS truck up there. It's to get fire trucks up there and access to a home. I'm getting off my soapbox.
no, I mean, you're spot on the ordinance stuff. I mean, if you're not gonna have teeth in an ordinance, then we shouldn't have it. I agree with that. And I agree with your safety concerns. It makes sense to me, and this is hard for me to visualize.
Well, the red
I
is,
wish I was colorblind, I guess, 'cause this is nuts.
the red is greater than 20% slopes. They have to cross
Yeah.
that to get, I mean, they can grade this, so it's less than, it's 20% or less, but then it still has to be paved. Right now, it's all gravel. There's no indication that they're gonna pave it. There's no indication of a turnaround that's 50-foot radius. They did kind of sketch something right here that shows a turnaround, but I think the town board needs to contact these people and tell them they need an engineered plan for their driveway. We made those people on Sherwood, on the end of the cul-de-sac out there that we just dealt with.
Oh, Schwarzy.
Schwartzy.
Oh,
You guys
God.
made those guys go through all kinds of hoops to provide an engineered driveway to
Yeah.
get back into that wetland. And now you're gonna let this guy pass? I don't think you're setting a bad precedent.
Yeah, and the reason that was engineered off of, what you call it there, Sherwood Hills, Sherwood Meadows, was because of kind of the wetland and the variance that was gonna be required and how they were gonna get back in there without affecting the upland drainage is the biggest reason why that was done. And I can stop out there and talk with them. I can give them a call or something and chat with them again, just to make sure that, they are going to do what they said they're gonna do. And, if it's above 20% slope, I guess you can't allow them to determine that. I know we allowed spokes to determine that, but I can talk with them, because they're supposed to put a turnaround in.
Are they gonna be adverse to having an engineer just draw this up, do you think?
That I don't know. If they want to build their house, they probably don't have a lot of choice, right?
Well, I just, this is kind of, I always love the hand-drawn maps, at the end, and like, I can't see a darn thing that's going on in that thing.
No.
Well, no, but it doesn't, I'm a pretty visual guy, and I understand everything that Jim's saying and what's in the ordinance, and
So maybe a review of the actual permit with them to confirm that they're gonna be paving it and that there's gonna be the turnaround.
Well, I think they should provide a drawing.
think
That's what
they
our
have.
ordinance says.
yeah,
That our engineer can review, and when it's done.
I don't want to go off course there, because if we go off course there, then the next one's gonna come in, and then that one might be complicated, and we're gonna say you need an engineering permit, and they're gonna say, oh, the last guy said you didn't need one. And that's just not gonna fly. We need to be consistent in the ruling on it.
Yeah, and I just, we don't want these long driveways back to these properties for this reason. And they were told, they knew that because they wanted to, that Stotts, who sold this property, wanted to put the houses way down here. And then they were told no, so then they settled on this. But then they should have been made aware at that time that, okay, you're going to abide by the ordinance. This is expensive. I mean, it's going to be expensive for them.
Because actually, Jim, what they wanted to do was they wanted to go up to the corner on Krogerville Road, and they
Yeah.
wanted their driveway to go straight up, and that would have been up into where was the old pasture, but that wasn't allowed to happen because of how they would be splitting the property. And they, thought they could sell one half off to a different owner, and they went, I did a lot of different things, but this is what, they settled on.
But I guess the plan commission and town boards should start making these people aware of these situations and what they're going to get involved in when they build that far off of a road.
And I would say that's where it would need to start, other than just road access. Because otherwise, there's a lot of other things out there going on. I realize this is a new one, but in our ordinance, we also have a 15 by 15, and boy, that baby is violated big time.
Yeah, well, we just need to get back to consistency, and if we need to change an ordinance to,
Yeah.
which is not,
I'll chat with them to make sure that they're on track to do what we'd agreed upon when we know that was issued.
Well, I think they need, yeah, that's fine, but they need to provide a plan so we can have our engineer look at it.
Mal, can we get a motion to have them get an engineered plan for their driveway?
I'll make a motion that Dave contact them and request that they provide an engineered driveway plan so our engineer can review it and to hold the occupancy permit until its driveway is completed.
Can we get a second?
I'll second it.
Other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposing the same sign. Motion carries 3-0 to get the engineering for the driveway permit, to hold occupancy.
I would assume that means temporary occupancy as well.
Yeah. I just drove by there tonight. I
Occupancy
don't
is
think they have
occupancy.
any studs going up yet. They all,
Yeah, I think they're
Basement.
quite
Early
away.
on yet.
I think they'll understand. I don't know. The thing you worry about too is if they're not under a good understanding, then, people like to do things on the cheap too, and then what do you got?
Right, yeah. And I'm, kind of concerned about the driveway that is right by, on Sherwood Hills Road where they're building that new house there. And I've talked with Chris, to not give the occupancy until they install that driveway the way it is on the drawing.
Sure.
Because I'm having issues with those folks because the contractor says it's the owner's responsibility. The owner says it's the contractor's responsibility, that he's only there building the house. So, and that's why I talked to Chris about it because, you get tired of getting the
Yeah, right. All right, F, discussion or decision of filling holes at North End Boat Launch and Ferry Park Launch. So, yeah, there's holes.
yeah, I was out there. Dennis Cool, our Clean Boats, Clean Waters Act person, said to me that a lot of complaints about the one at the north end.
Yeah, there's a lot at the other one too.
You're talking about the power
Well, I'm
loading?
not sure they would've got into the
Yeah,
other
because
one.
the water's so low. I know there was a
Yeah.
boat trailer that fell in and got pinned against the pier. And
I'm not in disagreement on them, but I think that's a dredging permit for both of those, right?
I don't know what's required.
I think it's a dredging permit.
There is
We've done
a
it
permit
before.
that's required, and it's taken out by the entity who is seeking to do the work, so that would be the town.
Yep.
I talked to Jason Forrest, because he had done the north end
Yeah.
launch at the time,
yeah, he's done work out there a couple times, lifting it up and
Yeah.
rewelding.
because I couldn't remember.
Yeah. No, I think you're correct on that. So I don't have an issue with doing one, both, the other. Honestly, I don't even know if if that hole wouldn't have been at Ferry Park this year, I don't know if they would have been able to get in there.
Oh, yeah.
No, really, realistically, because
Yeah.
it's
The
so
water's
shallow
low.
there, it's terrible. You would have been way past the pier to get your boat in there.
Wow.
So, I mean, the hole was actually probably a benefit this year, but, that lake's hopefully not gonna be like that all the time. And I guess if it makes sense to do one, you might as well contract and get them both done, so you're not going back later to do it.
So we need to apply for a dredging permit? Or is that what it is? from the DNR?
I thought it was
It's
a
a
dredge.
permit from the DNR.
It's a DNR, but I don't remember if it's specifically called a dredging permit, but it makes sense that it's dredging because it's
I make a
essentially.
motion that we contact the DNR, get permit to do the north end Ferry Park launches, fill in the holes.
Second.
Another discussion, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposing the same sign, motion carries 3-0.
So now are you going to seek estimates on who can fill those holes, since you're still on the same topic? If it gets moved forward, once that permit's taken out?
I don't think we need it. We can, but I just select a contractor and do it.
Yeah.
It's coming on boat launch fees,
Right.
Yeah, I think that one's pretty cut.
whoever you're
and dry.
comfortable working with, Tom. You'd have to be Forrest anyway. He's the only one with equipment that day.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Forrest.
Jay.
Yeah,
He's the only one
probably.
that's got
He's done it
equipment.
before.
Well, you want somebody that's done it before. You don't want a brain surgeon working on your knee.
No.
If you're having your knee fixed, so. Discussion and decision of brushing on town roads. We don't have any estimates yet, so we can move on from that one. We still got,
Has Wolf started mowing the?
Oh, yeah, I did talk to Glenn last Friday, I believe, and because everybody's got an excuse, right? Anyway, he had a tractor, the clutch went out, and he had an oil leak, so he said he was going to be started this week. So I have not seen him out there, but I was assuming Monday he was going to start
So
this
there
week.
was a
So
couple of corners out by you that were mowed, but that was it. It wasn't anything in between, so I wasn't sure if that was.
we'll talk about that another time.
So, yeah, but he is, yeah, he's on it.
He's ready to start.
Yeah.
As long as that's on the agenda, cleanup of trees.
Brushing.
I wrote the Towns Association and I asked if can a town create an ordinance that would allow them to notify a property owner that they need to remove dead trees from their property that are in danger of falling down and landing in the road. I asked them if we had to create a ordinance to do that, and the attorney Laura Carlson said an ordinance is unnecessary because state statute already addresses who is responsible for cleaning up trees and debris in public roads and right-of-ways. So if a tree falls from adjacent land into the road, the landowner has an obligation to remove that tree. I notice, I drive up and around, Short Hills is one, but there's some a lot of dead oak trees on people's property are right on that town
There's a lot of
right-of-way.
there's a lot of hazard trees.
Yes.
In that neighborhood.
So I was wondering if we should start notifying these people that they have to remove these dead trees, or if they fall during a storm, they're gonna pay for that removal. Town can remove them, but they're gonna pay.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can do that by
Well, we
state
don't
statute.
like for that to happen anyway. We'd rather be
No,
proactive.
but they're not gonna remove them. I mean, there's a lot of them up in there. So I don't know if
So
you
we
want
had
this
on
whole.
record to do.
She sent me this whole packet of top 10 things about roads. I'm sure if you want to.
It's probably duplicate.
Well, the best times after November anyway.
Yeah, right.
November through winter, so I think, we can,
When we do a road tour, we can identify some of
Yeah,
them.
because there's some on Stony Creek that are well on the property owners that when it falls, it's taking light
Yeah.
wires and
Oh, yeah.
everything.
Well, even the ones that you removed in the storm.
it's
Yeah,
bad.
majority of them.
Thanks for doing all that for the town.
You're welcome.
The last
Yep.
time that we had a meeting, a lot of those, you could charge those owners for the follow-up cleanup on them. You took them and got them off the road.
Got them off the road, and that's our responsibility.
Yeah,
The
right.
road has to be open.
Correct, but they're all laying in the ditches, and somebody has to go back and
Yes,
grind
clean up
them all
that
up,
mess.
so.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna talk about now.
Yeah, so
So-
we can charge these people that.
Discussion and or decision of emergency storm cleanup of trees. So what I have to say about this is, I really like to get, multiple quotes, obviously, but the way this tree thing has worked this year with the different contractors and everybody being so far behind and taking forever to get things done, I will say that Matt has gotten there like almost instantaneously
Yeah,
to take
I
care
thought
of
so.
things for us.
thought
And I
they
think
did
we're gonna have a lot of trouble.
Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I left them a big mess in some places.
And, you know, for the time being, at least, you know, through the end of the year, you know, I think he just keeps doing it if we have any more. Hopefully we don't. But I don't think he's horribly unreasonable.
No, I thought for $1,700, that there was a lot of stuff
Yeah.
out there.
And he wants to do it, and he do it in the middle of the night, whenever. I mean, he's, you know, that's why I said I don't know, because, you know, a lot of times a lot of people they're not as local, and they're tied to a bunch of other communities and this and that. You know, they don't get there right away,
So are you looking to like do a contract with one particular contractor, so we're sort of a priority to them?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I mean, we can always have a backup, but if, you know, somebody goes down.
Yeah, because the problem with it is, you know, if you're not always available 100% of the time. Jim has bailed me out a couple times already. Like, sometimes you just can't be there. You got one for me, because I wasn't going to get there until late in the afternoon.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I know he's kind of, you know, he's kind of pinned down sometimes during the day too, and he can't get there till 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock.
But if it's off the road, that's all we need to do.
Right, and it's more for tackling those and getting those done, because, you know, so the mowing guy or whoever's doing that,
Right, yeah.
running into him.
Because the problem is, you know, that emergency call is going to cost you $100.
Yep.
And then the thing of it is Tom is you can't, if it's only one isolated tree, it's no big deal. But the problem is when you have Jefferson County Dispatch breathing down your neck, and the worst trouble that day was the same day that the Fort fire was. So now the officers are now trying to communicate between themselves, because they don't want to bother the dispatchers. So it was really a major cluster. And the only thing you do is you got to get them off all of the roads. You know, so, and you had to pick. You know, I got called 3 times in Sherwood Hills Road. It's like, I can't get there. I'll tell you what I'm going to do.
Right.
You know, so, and then they don't want to tie up their officers, you know. So,
No, exactly.
so it'd be ideal, you know, if you can, you know, take this tree, clean it all up, it's gone, and move on to the next one. But that's just not the way it happens.
No, and I don't think it has to be done like that. What I'm trying to say is, you know, is essentially when this stuff happens, we just need somebody on, you know, get somebody on it. And
Instead of having to go search
or multiple, like boom, like maybe you're out there, but he gets a call too, and he's going over there, and you're getting him cleared faster just to get him out of the way, and then, you know, he deals with them after that.
And ideally, if it's just one little spot, you know, it's okay. But when you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 roads,
Right.
they all
When you get spread out, yeah. Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah, unload.
But I mean, contract that, you know, you got them kind of in both scenarios, and, you know, granted that they may not be able to get there quicker than one of us could anyway, or whatever, in some circumstances.
The biggest thing is, as long as you have somebody contracted that can come in and clean up behind you.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like when I called you, I said, this is where I wash my hands. As I'm dripping wet and there's water running all over.
And that's what we need, so.
Well, one thing to keep in mind too, when we create a contract, we have to remember that Dave's not going to be on the board forever.
Right, yeah.
As much as we like
Yeah,
to keep
you're
it out, we have to
right.
make a plan long-term of who's going to take care of this.
Well, we gotta-
So there's not somebody able to go do it immediately.
Right, and we also have to be concerned about liability too. We don't want
Right.
anyone to get hurt doing it that's not insured for that type of stuff.
You guys had gone through that emergency response training. Did they have anything in some of, that was like years ago?
Yeah, with the
How did they do
ISL
that?
100s and 400s.
Was there anything in there as far as emergency response planning for such things that we could use as a template?
You know, I know that was so long ago, and there's a lot of things that we should have completed and didn't. We need to have a FEMA field. So I don't know, is that a whole other subject that we need to investigate? I don't know, Jim, if you remember, you were on board when that stuff was first getting going, and we had to do the 100s and 200s and 400s and 700s and.
So really, we need like an emergency response plan for tree cleanup.
Right now, what it was is
more.
it went to the fire chief. He was going to be instant command, and then we would just, you know, do what he says, basically.
Gotcha.
Luckily, we've never ever had a catastrophic thing, but you know, when you drive around, you could see that
Emergency plan?
it's just waiting.
We have.
We have one.
We have emergency.
Because I think
Right, I'm just wondering if that
police
should
chief
be
has
folded
been
in.
in there.
You are,
Yeah,
Matt, you
I am the contact.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and there's a whole booklet.
There's a whole lot.
Yeah.
We do training once in a blue moon.
Yeah.
Yeah, you kind of forget that stuff.
We do. Well, tornado comes through.
Okay. So
I'd like to get a motion to get
For,
Rock
Creek.
Creek. So for,
Is it Rock Creek?
yeah, at least,
Make a motion that we contract with Rock Creek for emergency tree cleanup and removal.
can I get a second?
Yeah, second, sorry.
Any discussion? No. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, the same sign. Motion carries 3-0.
So then, when we went into the instance, do you want me to be calling Matt directly, or Tom, you get notified? And then you
Honest,
call him?
yeah,
It's
honestly.
really tough if too many people start calling.
You're the main contact though.
Right.
Main
Right.
contact. for
Yeah.
the-
Yeah, I would be first, and then, I don't know if you're second, or Robin, because if you don't answer the phone, they just go right down the pecking
Right.
order.
I'm probably the second, but we can kind of have that. Because I'm sure he would have questions too, because he knows what's going on too,
Yeah.
a lot of times. So we can just get him the names in the order and sequential order. But, and I mean, I'm always good too. I mean, hopefully that I can call, we can make a call to Robin and say, paid is if you see something somewhere. I just usually just do it if I see it, I need to drag it down out of the heavens or something.
The only issue is that when they're big, round trees, then Dave's got the equipment to push them out of the way, You sit there and saw forever on a tree this big around.
Oh, I just
That's why I had my kid come up.
I
with
just
the
chain in
tractor,
the front
but
hooks and just pull it
I'll
out
do
to the
the
side.
You got a truck that'll do
Get
that?
off the road.
The big skid steer out there.
I use the front hooks for everything and rope and
So-
chains.
Basically, when
I don't break
Steve's
my
got,
back.
he's got the authority now to contact Matt and say, come out and clean this up now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
okay.
it's, okay.
Yeah. All right. That's done. Discussion under decision of the Whistler local rating, reporting, and proposed service for maintenance by the town engineer. So, I put this on there, I took the course. It's a long course. It's a lot of information. A lot that comes at you fast. And the part that really stuck out to me was the amount of information that you can get out of this analysis tool that is really beneficial for not just the town, but when you go to contract your services. And you'll get contracting prices. Like if you have an engineer do it, he knows like current rates and things like that to enter into the system. So when you start to look at all the different maintenance aspects and repaving and all that stuff, all that information is in there. Joe below Tom's not gonna know that stuff, so that'll be missing. That won't be in there. So you start to lose certain aspects of the general analysis functions that you'll get out of the tool, including the 5-year plan and, rating your roads and doing taking care of your best roads versus spending oodles of money on your worst roads. So I learned a tremendous amount to be able to say, to make informed decisions. But, am I gonna be 100% accurate out measuring road shoulders and things like that? That information should be in the program. And once that part of it's done, it's in there for a long time, especially the current, like a new road, like Crossman Road. Would get entered in there and all that would get, spec'd out, so it's there. So you have that history for the future. The other aspect I worry about is consistency. So I go and enter in, what I think, and I'm not a road professional by any stretch of the imagination, pretty far from it. And then you get another future board member, they're entering in the information, and what are they entering in? And how are they doing it? And right now, based on what's in the tool, it's in the program itself, it doesn't look like, it looks pretty bare. And what I would say is, because this analysis stuff has been around for a couple of years. And I don't know, I haven't seen any reports yet in front of me that spits any of the information out, that, road deterioration curves, that prints you out nice maps as to, that you can give to the contractors that says, this is crack sealing maintenance, this is that, it does so much, an incredible amount. The more information you have, the better decisions you can make, and pit it against all these increases that the town is facing, so we can, really do due diligence and justice to really target the right grants and things like that, to do some of these roads and some of the road work.
So the initial 34 hours is to get everything updated, right?
Everything updated and, yep.
Then for next, it's every 2 years, isn't it?
Right, correct.
The next, in 2 years, then, is it less because he's done all the measuring of the road widths, the shoulders, that's all in there then?
That's it, that's in
So
there.
you're
Yep.
basically just entering the ratings of your roads at that point.
Right, so it'd be the time spent going back on the roads again, and getting, putting the essential updates in, but all the basic stuff, the basic entry and the spec stuff, yeah, and like cost updates, those guys they're in tune to all that stuff because they're doing it all the time.
Yeah.
Right.
In 2 years from now, they're gonna know what that updated cost is, and they're gonna boom,
And I can vouch that this is the direction that a lot of municipalities are going to let the experts do the expert work, and so you have a better chance of landing some of the grants.
One hates to spend the money, but one of the things when I was looking through all this information was the word you mentioned, consistency.
I worry
The
about
crappier we get, the lower our ratings get. It depends on the mood of what's going on. So we really, and there's no doubt, you put somebody else in the vehicle and you're going to have a different opinion. Corey or the engineer, whoever's going to do it, they, have that spec, and it's going to be, consistent. So.
I'm really worried. I'm worried from the facet that, you walk into this thing, and it's for anybody that would walk into a board position, that you don't have this information sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
You don't already have it here, and that now you're just making minute adjustments, going forward. Because how do you do any type of strategic planning with the rest of your budget, overall budget, when you don't have that information? You're shooting from the hip. And with the increases with fire and who knows what's coming down the pipeline from the school and maybe some other projected, costs, I just feel it's essential. We need the best information we can right now to help us with that budgeting plan and attacking grants, because we're going to need every,
Yeah, that's the only way you're going to get money. Roads built, grants.
Yeah, the major stuff, and really getting a better focus and handle on keeping our good roads in shape. I mean, I learned a tremendous amount in the course, don't get me wrong, but that's not going to make me an expert at this thing. It allows me to, it allows me to ask tough questions of the engineer. Like if we're out doing a road tour and saying, well, this is what I was seeing, and is that how you perceive? I see you perceive something different. Why is that? It allows you to ask those types of questions by doing the course. And it was a good course, but like I said, most of the people that were in that course were like fairly good sized cities, villages, things like that. They're full-time like roads people. That's what they're doing all the time. So they already have roads experience, like maintenance experience, and they've seen roads and what bad roads look like, and I mean, I learned stuff that I never would have. I looked at some of our asphalt roads, and I didn't know that, little pieces of the asphalt come out, and if you look really close, I mean, you should be doing a certain type of treatment, a slurry treatment or whatever for that at that point, and I don't know if that's even been thought about ever at the town level. You know, and it extends the life of your a road at that point, you know, if you do something like that. So it's all those little, you know, little tentacles that come out of this thing. That's why I thought it would be good to talk to Corey about it to see, you know, what his comfortability would be doing something like this. And he did agree that consistency is always a worry.
Yeah, and then we can't make mistakes.
And he going, you know, even if you would transition and he's not the engineer anymore and someone else comes in and they're an engineer, they still have the basis and the fundamentals, you know, to
Yeah, working with the
continue.
same spec.
Yeah.
So I'll make a motion to approve the expenditures of $4,760 to hire R.A. Smith to update our Whistler reports.
Second.
Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposing, the same sign. Motion carries 3 votes to 0. Discussion or decision of grant for roadway wild parsnip cleanup. I just put this on here to get it on here. There's some 65 some million odd dollars that is tied up in legislation right now that might be coming down the pipeline in grant monies to clean wild parsnip up. And of course, if you're cleaning wild parsnip up, you're cleaning a lot of other things up along your roadways.
I was thinking about herbicide treatment, right?
They do stuff, yeah. Yeah.
So they're
Different techniques. I don't know what all the techniques are for the actual cleanup itself.
they're targeting that, but they're
Right.
picking up other broad.
So, but there's no finality yet in the legislation aspect, but it's just something to keep an eye on, because if the money becomes available, if we have areas in the township that are identifiable, and we should be kind of starting to eye that stuff up on a road tour a little bit to see if we're having some problems with it, that, you know, we go after, you know, that type of money if it's available.
Problem with that, though, it doesn't really appear until end of June that you notice it.
Well, you won't even see it the first year.
No.
Because it's in the rosette stage.
Yeah.
Below the
People see it,
tarmac.
they need to let us know too, put more eyes on it.
Yeah, absolutely, residents and, yeah.
It's all along the interstate. You drive up toward.
Oh,
the
yeah.
pass and
Yeah, how I B.
B is full of it too, and it's coming.
All over.
And you don't want to touch that stuff. It's worse,
No.
Worse than burning nettles.
worse than poison ivy, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, it's a major health hazard for
I've been
sure.
blistered by that junk.
All right, moving on. Discussion under decision of ARPA funds.
I haven't heard any more, I haven't seen a lot
Ivan.
come through.
Nope,
Jim?
I'm going to the Towns Convention. They do have a seminar on it, so I'll see what I can find out there.
Excellent. Appreciate it. Discussion under decision of developing a town donations policy. I just printed off a sample donations policy.
I really didn't realize it was that darn difficult.
Did you see how long that thing was? It was a very well-written one.
I have to admit, I was reading through it, reading from it, I started scanning and skipping.
Should this be a policy that's actually in the form of an ordinance? Since that seems to be our holding
Yeah.
place for this kind of stuff.
That's typically what it would be.
Do they have, does the Towns Association have a sample ordinance for this? too?
That, I don't know. I don't know if we
really
asked
see
them.
Check with them.
anything.
Oh,
I'll do a little.
They're not easy to find, but
Okay.
they, you know, like,
This one's pretty in-depth.
It is
Building
very,
statutes.
it's crazy.
yeah, we're not,
And artwork, and to me, it would just be, as long as it's earmarked and you have a fund, you know.
it's more the document, it's more that you have some kind of documented approach. And that's kind of what I was after. It's like, but when you're just like, people are just out doing things and like, you don't know about it and it's not documented, or maybe a town board member is receiving all this stuff and it's illegal, right?
Oh, it is, yeah, we can't.
Yeah, you can't do, you
Yeah,
can't,
Dad had a couple
you
times
can't
where he
even
got a
tell
couple
people to
gas
do that.
cards, and
Right.
I think we donated to somebody else. didn't we?
Yeah, I had to give them to the board because I can't touch them.
Yeah, and I think we gave them to a needy family or something.
Yeah,
'cause we
I
can't.
think that's what you did.
Yeah,
As the
that's,
first committee becomes more active,
Yeah, we're gonna look for donations.
yeah.
you know, maybe somebody wants to donate a bench or something, we need something in place to be able to accept
Yeah.
that stuff.
So,
No, I agree, because, you know, we may have friends of the town hall.
That's exactly right. But yeah, I just wanted to get it out in the open here and just give a sample. This is one of the ones I found it was a lengthy one, but it was fairly well written.
Do you want to morph this into a Town of Lake Mills version?
Yeah, you cut it in half though.
Well, we might want a little bit of time to digest it.
Yeah.
There's not a rush on it.
Why don't
And
we
it's
read
good.
through it and mark it up?
Mark it up
Discuss it.
and say, because it may not need to be as deep. I mean, this is a village, it's a little bit bigger, and when you get into cities and that type of stuff, there's a lot more things going on. I know, someday Jim will want a statue out in front of the new town hall, his legacy statue or something, but.
The liberals will tear it down.
You said that cost to move that 50-ton.
All right. All right, discussion and or decision of farm tours in the town of Lake Mills. I got approached, actually, in one of my phone calls with Daybreak, to go tour their new facility. And as I was thinking more about it, it'd be like, well, it'd be nice to tour a couple farms in the township and show that we are here, and it'd be good to hear, some of their challenges and things like that. And I haven't put anything together on it yet, but I would like to see Daybreak stuff too, because I know there's things that go on and complaints and things once in a while, and it'd be nice to be updated on some of the improvements that they made.
So if a tour is planned, and other board members want to go, just have to post a quorum notice.
Right. I'm thinking probably nothing would happen until 2022, but just to kind of get it on here, and I can start thinking about it a little bit more.
Did you get a tour from Daybreak?
I have not.
Oh, yeah, and I would suggest to do it, and really actually what they're looking at is like with the neighbors or the town board is they like to have a little more of a personal thing, so like one or two people going through. I mean, it's pretty interesting that you get a little more detailed looks and see what.
And I know I think you've been in it already, right?
Yeah.
Years ago or whatever. Yeah. All right, discussion enters decision of permit application for ordinance 3.3 slaughterhouses.
This came up because of the liquor locker inquiry. So I realized we have an ordinance on it, which is very old and hasn't been looked at for a long time, but we didn't have any type of application for them to use.
Well, we need one.
Yeah.
The ordinance does state that there is a permit application that they need to fill out.
With the state. It says permit, application permit. It's to the, none of it, from what I read, says you need a permit from the town of Lake Mills. You need a permit from the state Department of Health.
Yeah. I saw that in there.
Requirements for permit. No permit shall be issued to any person, firm, or a corporation to encourage in the business of slaughtering animals for use of food purposes in the town of Lake Mills. But does it say earlier, where was it? Regulation is through the Department of Agriculture. My concern is that if we issue a permit, then we'll take on liability.
Right.
Yeah.
I'd just leave it with the Department of Agriculture.
Now,
Now, you could make this a checklist
okay.
Yeah.
of these items that are listed here, all floors and rooms, and, the 1 through 19, like you stated.
On that template that I used to make that permit, I couldn't find one in the state of Wisconsin that required a permit of any sort. That's actually from, I think, Texas, where I got that layout from.
Well, this ordinance may be so old.
Well, that was my other
They
concern.
talk about
Yeah.
cuspidors.
Do we want to see if the Towns Association has an updated version of this?
Yeah. I would say so.
It's gonna come in real handy, I think, maybe in.
Yeah,
They may say don't regulate it at all, let it all fall under state
Right.
statutes, maybe?
Right.
that's what they might say, and I would agree with them, because the state's gonna be on top of their game on anything new and upcoming down the pipeline, and
USDA.
there's a lot of stuff that changes quick in that environment.
I know a lot of them used to, there's very few that slaughter animals in a facility. They usually take a truck out, do it on the farm now, and then haul the animals back and cut them up.
And they now call it a harvest floor.
Yeah.
The language has changed too.
Well, there's a lot that antiquities to it now because, you know, if the building's attached and this and that to the rest of your work, you know, it's a whole game. I mean,
Or maybe
it's
that ordinance just says follow state statutes.
pretty
and they
complicated.
Simplify it, get all this other language out. So,
Check with the town association.
All right, discussion and or decision of fall road tour. Oh, we need to get that planned for November.
When you plan on doing it?
Well,
You just.
here's the deal. Here's the scoop. The Whistler information has to be entered in on by the 15th of December. It would be beneficial, I would think, to potentially, I don't know if it makes sense, probably makes sense for Corey to go out on his own anyway.
Right, yeah.
Let him do his thing. But for us, preferably, I mean, it's up to you guys. We could do it late November, first week of December. We could do it early November. I prefer to lay off the holiday week and the week before because Dave will probably be out in the pumpkin patch, and I know I will be too, joining the pumpkin patch with deer hunting and things, so. And then Thanksgiving, and there's a lot of people moving around at that time. So I don't know what everybody's schedules are.
Last week in November seems pretty good for me.
Last week in November, like the 29th, 30th?
Yep, 30th, 1st, and then December 1st,
Okay.
2nd, 3rd, 4th. The
I'd-
earlier November is bad.
Okay.
Like you say, hunting.
do you need to have leaves on the trees to do what you need to review, or?
Yeah, that's the only thing, and that's one of the big things you're gonna have is, you know, is tree trimming. Well, that underbrush is weighted with the leaves, but, obviously you need to wait till the leaves are off to do anything with it. It makes less of a mess.
I don't know, I could go either way on that one. I might see it better with the leaves off, like, I kind of know what it looks like with the leaves on, at least
Yeah.
on some of the bigger areas. In the bigger, I'll say in the big area, that's gonna be a very complicated area with homeowners, but,
It's more up to you, Dave. You're the.
Yeah, if you guys wanna
harvesting.
wait until November, that's fine, you know, cause now busy season is right around the corner. You know, if you wanna wait till later on, I guess the only problem I see with that is it's pretty hard to pick out a dead tree that needs to be taken out, when there's no leaves, but obviously.
you
if
thinking,
it's not dead,
are you thinking October, or?
I hate to, but, I'm okay with November, that's fine.
I think you're gonna, I mean, if you're gonna wanna see leaves, it's gonna have to be October. You're not gonna see many leaves in November, I don't think.
Or it's gotta be yet this month.
September?
I've got the 28th and the
Oh,
30th available in September.
September.
Otherwise, it doesn't make any difference. We all know what those roads are looking like. We can drive around and see what they look like with leaves on. That's whatever you guys want to do. I don't care.
That week's okay, September 26th, 7th, and 8th, 29th, not the 30th.
The only day I can't do is the 29th because I have a commitment at Corth with another deal.
Got the October 1st available.
That I
30th
can't,
got-
I'm at a wedding that day.
Okay,
I cannot do that day.
30th I can't, I got a dentist appointment. So 2nd, 3rd,
27th,
4th, 5th,
28th,
6th of October.
I'll be here then.
David will be contacting them?
Oh, yeah. I hope so.
We also have a budget meeting that we have to
Yeah, I
schedule.
know that was on the
In
agenda.
October, right? Is that-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Usually like that third week, usually.
Right,
Don't do it
it's
the
like
third
a
week,
or
'cause I
two
won't be
before
here.
Thanksgiving, so we try to do the budget, because I have to have the tax information in.
Yeah, usually we always do about the third week of October.
In October.
Yeah,
Yeah.
October.
Yeah, right.
Oop,
Sorry,
where's my
I said the
October?
wrong one.
Yep.
You're right.
Third week would be the 18th, 19th for that. All right, well, let's go back to, September 27th, 28th, I'm good. Those 2 days.
It's okay with me.
Okay, whatever. That's fine.
September 27th or 28th, which one?
Tuesdays are better, I think, but Mondays can be chaotic, but
It's okay.
28th,
September 28th.
starting at 8 a.m.?
Yep, 8 o'clock. I'd like to do it early in the morning, because if I'm doing beans, then maybe there's dew.
okay. All right.
Okay. I'll get that posted.
Road tour and beans. I'll put that in there too.
Grab me off and leave it. Payday, man.
Yeah.
The risk is over soon.
The risk is over.
Along with that, can we start
No, we need a
potholes?
motion for that, right?
Potholes?
I know, I didn't say it.
Can we get a motion to do that?
I make a motion that we do a road tour on September 28th at 8 a.m.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposing, same sign. Motion carries 3 votes to 0.
I don't know if you want this on the agenda or whatever, but I'd like to talk about filling potholes starting earlier.
Yeah,
Maybe just selecting Ron or somebody to just, when the weather's right, just go through the town and.
Define
Early.
early, not fall.
No,
Spring.
I mean
Yeah.
Have the decision
February or
made.
March.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
No, that's all
As soon as
doable.
As soon as the snow is.
I can tell you when they were doing them in Florence County, and they still get a lot of snow up there. They were doing them at the end of February and early March up there.
Yeah, I know, but people start complaining. then.
Yeah.
Anyway, March, first part of March is good too, but whenever.
That's why we're doing it now, and that was a great suggestion to have it in the fall, do the road tour in the fall, because that'll make that all happen. Be much more desirable.
Okay.
It's like, yeah.
So you can make the decision over the winter, so when spring hits.
Yeah, because we'll also get that analysis back pretty fast too, and we'll have that in January, so we can probably get that all taken care of in January. Know exactly where we're headed. We'll have a good idea where we're at with their funding as well.
Correspondence, again.
Correspondence, you bet.
I've given you guys copies of the equalized value information that came from the state, with the debt limit information, and then the Board of Commissioners of Public Lands
Yeah.
payment coming up.
What, wait a minute on that one. Why, do we have to pay the 234, or can we pay, we're gonna pay the 150 of that?
I think we have to pay the 234.
Why is that?
Well, we took out that $90,000.
I know, but it was for 3 years, 2023.
The one thing I need to ask them is if this reflects that early payment we made.
Yeah, that was gonna be my question.
Because I was looking at this, I'm like,
Because this should be worked out to around $150,000
Right.
a year.
right.
Yeah, not 234, 'cause-
So
Yeah.
I was gonna contact Richard, the gentleman who's in charge of ours, and see if that reflects that early payment we made this year of March.
so you're thinking that there's 150 already paid on this? No?
Maybe.
Well, we need to find that out,
Yes, we do.
because we can't
Yeah, we can't come up with that, because then
money.
we would be refinancing, and that's why we refinanced
Yeah,
it
that's
last
right.
time.
Correct.
To get 3 years.
Right.
So one question on this here, Robin, is I like it because you can kind of compare the equalized value and how it changed among the other towns, but what exactly, do you know what the debt limit means? Because obviously, where we're going with that.
It's a tool that our municipalities use to know how far in debt they can go based on what we have for our equalized value. Some like to use that as the method of how they plan their,
Because I know villages a lot of times use their debt limits.
do we want to be in $23 million worth of debt? No, so.
No,
No.
moving on.
Yeah. Yeah.
They still have people that hang people.
Be able to do all
That's what would happen.
I don't have a copy of the correspondence for you, but something that just came through from the library board, which I am an appointed member of, we are going to be doing a survey of the communities in regards to a needs assessment for a possible expansion to the library. So keep that in mind, and once I get some information, I can forward it, but that's an email that just came through today.
All right, meeting scheduled, October 5th, 2021, Plan Commission meeting, 7 PM in the Town Hall. B, October 12th, 2021, Town Board meeting, 7 PM at the Town Hall. October 14th, 2021, Joint Rock Lake Committee meeting, 6 PM at the City Hall.
Make a motion.
Second, oh, go
I
ahead.
just have a question. When are the piers coming out? People will be starting to call me, and I would like, does anybody know when they're coming out?
I do not.
Not yet.
After October 1st, right? Launch open till October 1st.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, they gotta pay until then.
So anytime after that could come out. Okay.
Our boat patrol's coming off 21st, 22nd. somewhere in there.
October,
No,
September.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Need a second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.